Okay, all right. I would like to call into session the city council meeting of the city of Yachats on Wednesday, June 18th, 2025. In attendance are Councilors Carey, Councilor Collins, Councilor Headland, Councilor O'Shaughnessy, myself, the Mayor Craig Birdie, our city manager Bobby Price, and Neil is substituting for our city recorder, Neil Morphus, sorry. All right, we'll start the meeting as we normally do with any announcements, proclamations, and correspondence. Was there any received that require reading or notice? Are there?
Not on our end.
Okay. We do have some items to discuss at the end of the meeting. I have a few items that could have been had I acted sooner, I guess, been part of correspondence, but they're actually actions from the mayor. So we'll get to those at the end if time permits. Okay, public comment. Any public comment limited to items that are not on the agenda. These are items that are 5 minutes, or we allocate 5 minutes per speaker for these, if somebody would like to speak. Right. And for the record, please state your name, your city. Yes, please. Your name, the city of residence, and please address your comments to the chair. We ask that you avoid disparaging city council members, etc., although that is your right, should you choose to do so. Okay.
Well, good afternoon, Mayor and city councilors. My name is Michael Allen. I'm from Florence. And it just happened that I was up at the Board of Commissioners meeting this morning, and I wanted to report on something that relates to a presentation that I'm here to support from my good friend Tom Kearns. By background, though, my wife and I arrived on the coast here almost 12, 15 years ago as RV travelers. One of our guest hosts was at the Lincoln City, that state park. If you recall, that one floods out every so often. So climate was an issue. That's the topic here that I'm bringing to you. It was an issue then, and it still is. I settled in Florence and became pretty active with working with our city council. But I wanted to move even beyond that, look for things statewide, national, and I found Elders Climate Action. And they didn't have a chapter here, but I asked about getting one going. I guess, you know what happens when you do that. They say they need somebody to take the lead, which I did. And we now have an established chapter. We're working closely with the coastal cities up and down the coast. We're forming a group really dedicated to climate coalition building. But I discovered that your county was really in the forefront. Marianne Seifert, who is with the health department, has created a whole climate and an organization centered around just the theme of the intersection between climate and health. And I went to one of her meetings. Well, today, and that was 2 years ago, roughly. Today, Marianne presented to the Board of Commissioners her draft climate action plan. It was very well received, and there were a lot of people in the audience that seconded and supported it as well as I did. One element, and I just wanted to point this out, one element of that deals with one of your topics that you're going to hear from today, and that is the involvement of youth advisory groups. So I think it's well taken that that's part of what we want to do, is include youth, as well as us elders, of course. I'll give you one last thing about the benefits of county and city relationships, particularly on this subject. I served on the Parks Advisory Committee for Lane County, their vice chair. Been on there for almost 6, 7 years. And during the last couple of years, our Lane County was in the process of developing their own climate action plan. And it's been in existence for quite some time, at least 2 years. One of the benefits to my little city of Florence was that they hired, as a result of that climate action planning, a person that would go after federal dollars. And they collaborated with several cities, including ours. And it turned out the grant that they went after was to fund resilience hubs. They won. And our plan was to get our library to become that resilience hub. I have to say, unfortunately, though, in this climate that we're facing today, the money has been withdrawn. But that opens up the resolve for all of us at the city level and the county levels and the state level to work hard to get these kinds of things in place. So it was a treat to be able to come back down here. I started my morning this morning at 8 o'clock, leaving from Florence in the rain. Here it is, a beautiful, beautiful morning. I love this coast. I love it. And I love this building, and I love Yachats because we've come to many, many of your functions. So
Thank you.
great times in presentation.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Any other public comment online or in the audience? All right. All right. Hearing none, we will move into our first order of business. I will say a couple things. One is that we have a lot of housekeeping to take care of today, things to pass and to think about, and not all of it the most scintillating. So we have a public hearing regarding our ordinance. Make sure I get the right ordinance number, 954, which is development in floodplain, and there's been changes to that coming from our planning commission, planning manager who worked very diligently on it. So I'm going to start with a couple of caveats. One is that we have been made aware through our attorney that there is a suit pending regarding the FEMA actions that instigated this, under which we instigated this change. It is by a group of property owners. There's a second group, I can't remember who it is. Essentially, what they are saying is that they have two major concerns, if I remember correctly. One was that FEMA did not follow their own rules in developing the standards that were necessary. And the second is that there were poor definitions around biological assessment and people capable of doing the biological assessments in one of the options that FEMA required communities to adopt. That doesn't affect us so heavily, but the first one certainly could. So this whole initiative could be upset by that suit. It is very ironic because the whole initiative from FEMA started with a threat of a suit from multiple environmental groups who claimed that floodplain standards that FEMA was working under were inadequate for protection of anadromous fish specifically, but environmentally unsound in general. So they were threatened with a suit, they developed standards, and now they are looking at another suit. And that suit is scheduled for August, late July or August. So that one is actually moving forward. That's it. Again, more background. FEMA gave municipalities and governing organizations 4 options to that they could adopt, or if they do not, then they can lose their FEMA flood insurance and any guarantee that FEMA will provide services in the event of a flood. Our option that we selected was to modify an existing ordinance that we had. It was substantially the same as the model ordinance FEMA was requesting. And that was what is before us today, is those modifications. So by our charter, we hear an ordinance twice and then vote on it. And we have, this is a substantial, we also need to read the ordinance. If it is amendments to an ordinance, we only need to read the amendments. So for me to do that will take at least 20 minutes of listening to my sonorous voice, and you will have to do that. You will have to listen to that unless the council is willing to proffer a motion of suspension of rules. And that is something that the state legislature uses fairly frequently, where they will do a motion to suspend the rule, which in this case would be the chair reading the changes to the amendment. So that's an option. Otherwise, I am prepared to read this. I practiced in 20 to 25 minutes. I don't stumble too badly and don't do too much explanation. So what's the council's preference? Do you want me to start reading, or would you consider a motion of suspension of rules?
I think we have, this topic has come up over the course of a couple meetings. I think everybody is generally familiar with it, but in one sentence, FEMA told us you must have X rules to protect the environment. We picked the least oppressive acceptable one. We put it into an ordinance, and now there's a lawsuit pending saying the whole thing may go away. But personally, I don't see any flaw, or I don't see any reason not to adopt what we planned and agreed on a couple of times. And I would, and since it is essentially old news, I would move to suspend the rule of requiring the reading of the ordinance.
Other councilors, what's your
I
sense?
agree, but I have a question. So in passing an ordinance, are we putting ourselves in any jeopardy in terms of this loss?
No, I don't believe we'd be in jeopardy other than having to probably revoke
Okay.
the changes.
I just wanted to.
Yeah, I think if you do something that is more than, if the court accepts the lawsuit, says, FEMA was out of line doing this, it doesn't mean that it was wrong to do it.
Okay.
It just meant that FEMA was wrong to impose it on us.
Okay,
So. no
so we're
jeopardy.
fine. Okay, okay.
Nicole, what you thought?
Yeah, I think it'll be fine to suspend the rule, reading it.
Okay.
I concur.
Okay, we will do that then. I would rather spend the time kind of discussing what the changes are and whether how much impact they have on our community, et cetera.
Can I make a comment really quick?
Please.
So with that, our city attorney has the draft ordinance that we would be approving with this. You today have that same draft that they have, creating ordinance 378, which will include the changes which you have in a markup version, but this would be into a clean version. We will review this first, and then the second we will have the clean version, the final version that our attorney approves for us, accepting all of these markups that have been made. Also a note on the comments from the attorney on the current litigation that's underway for this FEMA Pick'em compliance. They had option for us because we have noticed this, we have gone through the efforts, we have let the community know that we were here. We can have our first reading of it today, going over what the amendments are in preparation for our final draft. We can pause out the reading of the final draft a couple of months to hear what happens. So we could come back and make that notice today during this meeting. If we want to come back, say in September after the August litigation date to have that second hearing is an option that they have put on the table for us.
Who's they?
Our city attorney.
City attorney.
Yes.
We also have, of course, the issue of how rigorously FEMA will defend this change, and will FEMA even be in existence between now and September. But those are moot points. I guess we need to first do what the issues are in front of us. So I would support, I'd like to hear a motion of suspension of the rules. It requires a 2/3 vote of the city council for a suspension of rules motion. Can I get a motion for the suspension of rules regarding reading the ordinance 978?
So moved.
We should go around the room on this one.
Okay. I'm sorry.
How do you vote?
Yes.
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 And the mayor votes yes. So, okay, good. I see that we have somebody from the planning commission here too. Mary, was that specifically for this ordinance? Anyways, thank you. So we don't want to ignore it, your input, but did the planning commission have any statements or concerns with this ordinance?
Not particularly, other than the information regarding the attorney taking a good hard look at it and his recommendations.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Plus, there were a few, as I was reading it, noticed a few commas here and there that were out of place, and some references that I weren't sure were quite correct. So I'm going to just kind of summarize what the changes are very quickly. Essentially, it's saying that, and anybody feel free to correct me, that we can, that any development within the floodplain and actually within 100 or within an area 170 feet either side of a river that floods or a tidal area must follow certain rules. And specifically that it must not, no net loss to fish habitat. And that then required some definitional changes of what those things were: accessible space, egress able space, defining what fill material is. So if you can't add fill, for example, defines green infrastructure in terms of the hydrology and the reach of a river, etc. So some of these things were added to the ordinance, were not previously in the ordinance. These definitional kinds of things that are necessary if you're going to have no net loss for fish habitat. So there are a series of additional and changes to definitions, mostly additions to it. And I want to emphasize the riparian buffer zone. I'll read this one. Measured from the ordinary high water line of a fresh water body, lake, pond, ephemeral, intermittent, or perennial stream, or mean higher high water line of a marine shoreline, to reach 170 feet horizontally on each side of the stream, or 170 feet inland from the mean higher water. Riparian buffer includes the area between these outer boundaries on each side of the stream, including the stream channel. Where the riparian buffer is larger than the special flood hazard area, the no net loss standards shall only apply to the area within the special hazard area. So that is a change in terms of how far we extend these ordinances. Even with that, it's my understanding that there are only about 6 properties in Younts that fall into that area. So other changes other than the definitional changes actually come towards the end, or most of them. Other changes were adding no net loss to several of the clauses of the ordinance. Until we get towards the end of the ordinance, where we start to define what the actual changes are. And those are specifically to define what no net loss is. Special flood hazard area that would reduce undeveloped space, increase impervious surface, or result in a loss of trees that are 6 inches at chest height, 1.43 meters. Looked it up this morning. So if any of that's going to happen, you have to do mitigation. So for example, there is a potential addition to a home in Quietwater. If they were to do that, they would fall into these restrictions. If they could not put in a paved driveway, they have to have an impervious driveway of some sort. And should any of the properties impinge on fish habitat, they have to mitigate it, preferably in the project area, within a near area, and potentially within the full reach of the river in this case. So there needs to be offsets if you infringe on fish habitat. As far as I know, none of the properties in the Quietwater area are fish habitat or include fish habitat. There is one portion in Quietwater that does fall into that area, but that's not a developed area and not part of Quietwater's intent to ever develop that area. It's part of their green space. I think I've covered several of them. And stop me if there's a question wrong, what's tree replacement and what's impervious versus pervious. The ordinance does then define what can be done in the floodplain. So normal maintenance of structures such as re-roofing, replacing siding, provided there's no change in footprint or expansion, normal sidewalk road maintenance, street maintenance, include as long as you don't alter contours. You can do routine maintenance of landscaping, ditch clearing, plant trees, remove obnoxious weeds, maintain utilities, etc. So, and you can do habitat restoration activities within the riparian area or the floodplain. So it doesn't impact existing structures or existing sidewalks. And that's really the extent, with a lot of wording, of what we would move to the second hearing. Comments? Yes.
Just a question. And really, not sure I understood what the city manager said, but just to make this as simple as possible, FEMA said, you must not allow X within the floodplain, riparian area. Fine. We created an ordinance that satisfied FEMA, but other people are challenging FEMA's position. And my question is, so was the attorney saying, well, first of all, was my understanding that FEMA wanted us to do X right away.
Mm-hmm.
And now that there is a lawsuit, is the attorney suggesting that it's not necessary to make a change right now? You can wait till this litigation is over, or not?
They said that we would be okay to pause but we have already noticed this meeting for the reading. So instead of having to re-notice everything, that we could do an official pause on it today. We could choose to come back and say August or September, or we can continue forward as is. They just gave options.
Then that's the attorney's opinion that there's not gonna be a negative response from FEMA during the pendency of this litigation, and that's why the urgency to adopt the resolution has been, well, pushed back somewhat.
So she did say the downside of pausing the process is timelines have technically not changed. So FEMA could still interpret this as no action and non-compliance if we pause. So but the upside of pausing the land use amendment is the adoption of the new ordinance may not be deemed enforceable at the conclusion of this litigation, which may necessitate a reversal of those amendments.
So why not just go ahead and do it and then?
So that is absolutely what we can do.
And what I'm suggesting is this kind of middle path where we say we've had our first hearing, we'll have our second hearing September, October. So we've shown intent to implement this, but we haven't actually passed it until we've had a second hearing and a vote.
Okay, so today is the first hearing.
Today is the first hearing.
And when does FEMA want all these changes made? We talked about it a couple of meetings ago and I can't remember. It was supposed to be the end of the year.
So this started last year in July, and we were supposed to have a decision made by December, which we did.
Okay.
We've gone through the motions, and we continue to go through the motions, and then we had a year to put it in place.
Okay. So we still have until December. So if we.
I think it was a year.
I thought it was July, a year from July.
It was a year. It might have been a year from July. I know that there was a year we had a year to put it in place, so it might have been from that notice point.
I think it was a year from July, the end of July, if I remember.
You're from this July or?
Yes.
Just July.
Less.
When they gave the first notice.
They gave the first notice. So theoretically, we would be, to follow FEMA guideline, we would need to be done by then. But kind of based on what the reality of the situation, I'm suggesting we're showing good faith with FEMA. So should there be a flood or an earthquake and we need FEMA's help, we could say, hey, we were acting on it. We just had some snags and our intent is to move forward with this.
Could that be too late? I don't know. You would just say,
What do you mean too late?
if there were a flood in the meantime.
We would not be the only community. There are also cities that are involved in this suit against FEMA. So I mean, this is in essence a show of good faith, and that's about it. But we do want to get clarity before we make a final decision based on what the court says. That's how I would phrase it. So, I mean, there's a risk. Clearly, there's a risk, but there's a risk either side.
It seems to me, though, that if I'm understanding the lay of the land, we're talking about insurance policies with FEMA flood insurance and whatnot.
Mhm.
And if you got a policy and you get a loss, you're going to get a recovery.
Mhm.
They can always say, okay, we're canceling your policy, or we're issuing your policy is that we're not going to issue you a new one. But that's if that doesn't happen during our pausing period, then they're not going to come back. I don't believe it's possible for them to come back and say, you had a loss, gotcha.
Yeah.
They would have had to tell you, you have no insurance. So I agree.
Mary, you have?
I think the other consideration you need to look at is there's a high possibility that the present administration is going to cancel the FEMA flood insurance. So that's a possibility too, and that can be done through an executive order, and he's threatened to do it, so. That's a point that you need to take a look at, and the other point is that as far as FEMA coming in and helping us if something happens, they've been cut so drastically as well as their funding that I don't think that there's a whole lot of availability for a community like Yachats to have that option. So those are two other pieces that need to be looked at and.
So to me, that says we don't need, there isn't a lot of urgency around this acting. This is best practices. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm supportive of this. That you can't contribute to flood damage, and we need to put in retention ponds, et cetera, to minimize the damage. I mean, all the changes in the ordinance are positive, net positive for the environment.
So for that reason, I'm still struggling, like, why don't we just go ahead and do it, and if we need to reverse it later, that's fine, but we've done it, and
that's
and it covers our community members to the best that we could for their insurance.
I can't strongly disagree. I just would simply say that let's have our first reading and delay the second reading for a couple months until we see what happens.
So if these amendments are best practice, it's found that FEMA overstepped their boundaries. Do we even need to reverse it, or can we keep it as is since it is best practice?
Well, we could probably keep it, but would we not then be vulnerable to somebody, the same organizations that sued the federal government? I mean, after a community that says you implemented things that were not based on solid evidence or something.
Yeah, I think our if there's an unhappy character, it's gonna be a homeowner who can't do what they want to do on their property. And it might be something that strikes us as being very benign and harmless, but it just doesn't fit within the FEMA guideline. That's the more realistic complaint once this ordinance is in effect. So on that ground, I'd say I'm supporting your wait a couple of months suggestion.
Okay. So I think that that is what I'm proposing. We don't really need an ordinance. We only need, there's no time guidelines in when we do the second hearing. So I would suggest that we simply let this until we have a better sense of where the federal government is within the suit on this.
And that's supposed to come up in July or August?
Yeah, I believe it was the end of August, something like that, but end of July, sometime.
Made until at least August.
Yeah. And these things could be,
Litigation.
yeah. It could go, yeah. I mean, the original thoughts about this FEMA started in 2011, and then nothing was happening, and then the ecological groups threatened to sue in 2017, and took from 2017 to 2021 for FEMA to get the guidance and all the different issues resolved. And we're very fortunate. I believe it's the city of Warrenton, the whole city is impacted by this. They could do no development at all in the city unless they make these changes. So, we just have a few properties. I think we've probably spent enough time discussing it, unless I was one of the owners. Any comments from the audience, either online or in the building? Okay, if not, this is not a motionable action, but I think I'm going to cut discussion. And we will come back for a second hearing. Let's schedule it tentatively for September. And we will, we do not have to notice the second time. Put it in, make it part of our agenda. So, you know, each notice is 700. Probably more, because that doesn't include the newspaper listings. Okay, so we're gonna move on, unless there's further discussion. Thank you, Mary, for coming to help us. All right, the consent agenda. Let's kind of walk through there. Does any comments on the consent agenda? Anything that anybody saw that raised a concern or?
The city staff report is part of that, correct?
Okay, yes.
I just have a few things to say. First of all, I'm ever just amazed at all that our staff is doing. And reading that report is very formative. I would really encourage citizens, if we can get citizens reading that report, because I think sometimes there's a lot of criticism. If they read what we're doing, I think it would be positive. There are two things that caught my eye, though, although there's many things that did. But one was the code compliance. As you know, we now have someone to do code compliance, which for years we did not have. I couldn't understand why we continued to make more and more rules and regulations, and there was no one to enforce them. We have someone now who's doing a good job. He's very productive. But what I liked is in what he's doing, he's also doing prevention. That he is meeting with residents, with the population, with businesses to inform them what it's all about. So he's building relationships, because I've always found in life, if you build relationships and then you have to come in and give someone good news or bad news, you've built a relationship there. So I really, really appreciate that he's doing that. Because I don't think it's a job a lot of people would want. So the other thing is, I was impressed with all the grants that have been identified for the Little Log Church Phase 2. And I asked who had done that, and Rosa had done that, but there was numerous grants that she has researched that will be important, I think, as we move forward with that. So I really appreciate that our staff takes the time to do that. Of course, I was thinking about Elon Musk and or whatever 5 things you did this week. But that we've done this for years. I think it's a good summary. I think if our residents have any concern about what people are doing, you read that report and you will be well informed about what the people we have in the main office are doing. So thank you.
I put smiley faces in all places.
I think it's appropriate to identify what they are. Yeah, go ahead and.
Oh, I did it at the bottom of Diane Grover's finance piece, and then also at the bottom of the planning. I just kind of, as I'm reading, it's like, oh, I like what I'm reading. So and I too thank everybody for, you know, all the work that they're putting in, and the fact that we can know what they're doing, not to pry, but to be informed.
I had a question. I agree. I mean, overall, these are very positive and I really enjoy it. Our water loss efficiency went down to 78% this month from our normal 90+, which is exemplary. There was a water leak on Green Hill. Is that what this is from? Is there more than one?
I don't believe that is what that one was from. The leak on Green Hill that just happened, that was with the paving work and the prepping for the paving work that is happening. Rick is online, I believe, and he can.
Yeah,
for that.
we had a big leak over on Ocean Park Road. And that sucked up a lot of water. So, but we're back to normal now. We had the leak the other day on Green Hill. But our system's actually doing pretty good. These have just been a couple of leaks.
Yeah. Okay. So I was just curious. I wanted to know where that leak had happened. So And Yahats Ocean?
Yeah, 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 maybe we could start adding that to the report where we're fixing these leaks. So it's more trackable and understandable,
Mhm.
because they are quite active. Um, they fix a lot of little leaks also besides big ones.
Yeah.
So I'd like to actually start adding that to the report.
Okay. It'd be helpful.
Yeah, and help me remember when I get asked.
Yeah. And especially, you know, in the summer months when we have to be very judicious about our water.
Mhm.
It's been incredibly dry. You see the rainfall, year-to-date rains, and it's the lowest since that is reported here. A little bit of rain today
Yeah,
in June.
yeah, the outlook's not looking good, truly not. So
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and we do have our agreement with Southwest Lincoln, and that was addressed in here in terms of exercising the valve and getting ready, and I appreciate that. Thank you for that.
Oh, no problem.
And when it's time to do the agreement with Southwest Lincoln, is there gonna be any issues that we should be concerned about? It's gonna be smooth.
We did this same agreement last year. It's just a yearly
Okay,
summer agreement at this point. And as soon as we start it, we have to pay a $10,000 upfront fee and then a meter-based charge. And then at the end of summer, we end that agreement because it's only a temporary one. And then we go wait for the next year. What we're working toward is that golden like 50-year agreement.
So,
And
Rick, I'm gonna
go ahead.
interrupt you really quick. What we actually signed was from for multiple years, but we have to re-up it each year. So we have to pay the start fee each year, and which is $10,000. And so each year we do a process where we communicate, and then make sure all of the valves are working well and what needs to be addressed for this year, for the future years. And then when it's time to start that, for that year, we pay the $10,000 each year. And so that's kind of the up of the agreement each year. And then we pay by the unit that we use on top of that.
And $10 a day.
Yes, thank you. Mhm.
And that's a huge accomplishment, actually, because Yahats have been trying to get that for years and years and years, you know, outside of just an emergency basis, but, you know, sign up for the summer and expect us to use it kind of a deal. And which is fantastic. We should go along like that for, you know, decades. But I think for the water security that we're looking for, we need a longer term agreement. And currently they're working on their water management and conservation plan, which will help them make the decisions that they need to make for water cells outside the system.
So thank you for those, that long, huge relief for us to have that agreement in place. The only other thing I would add is the progress on the library and the Little Log Museum is really impressive. I love walking by them and seeing the buildings change. It'll be the subject of my mayor's letter this month. Things are going to slow down. They're going to look like they're slowing down as the building is enclosed and the work begins inside, but the link to their project plan shows that they are very active and very busy. So really fun to see. Okay, gonna move if there aren't any other comments. The sheriff report, thank you to the sheriff's deputies for highlighting the Yahats actions that made it a lot easier to look at. Councilor Carey, that was something you had asked for, and I think they were highlighted, so it made it easier to scan. I did have, in terms, any comments on that? The summaries, I think we have the wrong name in the city council summary for the representative from the Cape Perpetua Collaborative.
Okay. We can get that correct.
Yeah, Taliana is her name, and I think we had the wrong name.
Okay.
Financial reports, I went through them. I saw nothing of concern. We don't have anybody from the finance committee here. A little bit difficult to look at the graphs for Nicole's purposes. We collect transit rental income quarterly, but they have a full month to pay. So even though the payments were due in the end of June, we won't see those until 1st of August typically. So there's a lag on that. Some of the bigger reporters do it pretty quickly in the start of the month to get it off the list, but some of a lot of it dribbles in over time. So it looked like we're on track. Is that correct, city manager?
Yeah.
Anything of concern or note?
A new feature that we added, which resulted from a conversation I had with Councilor Headland, is on the pages you can see the highlighted area where it says percentage of fiscal year completed, 91.7%, and it's highlighted, so you can kind of use that as a gauge to see where we're at in the fiscal year, and when you're looking at the graphs and when you're looking at all of the different financial reports. So I thought it was a great suggestion, and I think it is nice feature on there as well. But all in all, it's looking good, and we do not look like we need to do any supplemental budgets or resolutions to move any funds around in our structure. So we're looking on track for this year.
Yeah. We're over in some areas, but then under in other areas, and we don't need to balance every line in the budget. We only need to do it within the general fund, for example, or within the water and sewer funds, enterprise funds. Those each need to be self-contained. So we're doing fine, and that's appreciate the management from oversight from our city manager to make sure that we're playing inside the boundaries on that. Appreciate it very much because it's a lot of balancing.
Absolutely.
Anything else?
Some questions or comments under the Public Works and Streets Commission meeting of May 13th. One was under current business saying that the delineators replacement had been proven inconclusive. It was suggested that council report back that no recommendation could be made, and I would like the council to take that liberty.
So it was discussed with the Public Works and Commission Street, again, looking at more options than the first two options that they looked at before it came to City Council. And it was again discussed, and there was they could not come up with a firm decision that they just want that to be in the hands of City Council. And where that was from our last City Council meeting, was the suggestion of the extruded curbs. And we have an engineer doing pricing estimates on that we will bring back hopefully in July or August. We are also looking at pricing for if we were to do a paint option. So a couple different options to bring back to City Council with more pricing and information. So that they were really just saying that it's out of our hands.
Okay. And then
They were putting their hands up.
a couple other things under that same meeting. Under the speeding data, ODOT memo, I circled both of those paragraphs. That it looks like there were a lot of, or several people on the commission who critiqued the report and found that there were significant errors and omissions. And so forth, and just where that stands, because if they're feeling like it wasn't adequately done, and we're still wanting to have reduction of speed, then what should we do next?
So this was prior to our last city council meeting, and we discussed this in our last city council meeting as well. And then it was shared that they believed that there was not enough data collected, that the amount of days, the time of year, that kind of information. Also, they're looking within like the speed studies are done kind of in the heart of the speed, and where our speed datas are collecting, it's at the sign. So it's like when people are seeing that they're hitting it and they're slowing down, but it's collecting the speeds that they were going. So by the time they hit those signs and slow down, that's when they get to that center, and that's when they'll collect the 25. And also same when they see the sign, they slow down, and that's more when where they collected the speed data for the 40 mile an hour, 45 mile an hour zone. And we discussed in our meeting and reviewed the data that it might not be necessary to do where we go back to and fight their suggestion, their speed suggestion to us. But Rick and I did, knowing that the Public Works and Streets Commission didn't agree with the report. When we're talking here, I was not sure that I wanted to go against what they were suggesting, because they did give us the reduced speed further up, and we're applying for the TGM grant right now, which is our transportation growth management through Oregon Department of Transportation, as well as the Safe Streets, and wanting to really be working with them towards these progressive ways that we can slow it down, working with the department, rather than working against the department. And we've shared that with the Public Works and Streets Commission. We've also shared that with ODOT. We've had a meeting with ODOT, Rick and I, with their regional manager and the person who did the study. And I shared that feeling of, we want to keep moving in these directions. We want to be working with the agency, not against the agency. We have these folks that don't agree with the report. They would like us to do an appeal. What are your thoughts on doing an appeal? Where would that get us? Where does that get us with relationships with the agency? How does that put us in place for these future grants? And they did say that if we would like to do an appeal, it is with an appeal board that's completely separate from any of the agency that we would be applying for those grants with, that has a group of members, the appeal board, that review with quite detail the reports that are taken, and then the appeals that are given, and they will review it all. And it doesn't have a negative impact on us to do that on our future relations with ODOT, since it's a separate appeals board than the granting folks. So they said if we would like to appeal, that it's no skin off their back, that it's no bad relation to us. They cannot guarantee that it will change anything, because when they look at the report, they said the speed is doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. They said it looks just about perfect for this area, that they wouldn't suggest a change. However, it wouldn't impact us negatively if we decided to do an appeal. So that Rick and I decided that we thought it would probably be a good idea to just go ahead and do the appeal if it's not going to negatively impact us, especially since our Public Works and Streets Commission felt that the information wasn't fully complete. So that was a very long answer.
We talked about last meeting as well as what's happened since. So in fact, we are
We haven't done the appeal yet, but we did just have that meeting and we've recapped and discussed that it would be it would be good for the fact that it would be going in line with the direction that the Public Works Commission
Oh.
was urging us to go, and it wouldn't negatively affect our future. So we have not done it yet, but we.
Could it negatively change the reduction of the speed north of the city, or we don't know? Or would they keep in what ODOT has already said? We don't know.
Rick, do you have an answer to that question? We didn't speak directly to that. I think the appeal would be
Yeah,
to this.
One of the things in the appeal that I mentioned to Public Works and Streets was maybe we need to narrow our focus in what we're trying to get done. You know, baby step kind of a deal. We got the 40 mile an hour by the fire station, so that's a real win. But when I applied for the ODOT speed study, it was from one end of city limits to the other. I wanted it to be 25, or I requested to be 25. And so there's a lot of holes to shoot in that idea. But what if we asked for a crosswalk at Diversity? And to get a crosswalk, it has to be 25, or it can be 40 miles an hour with an island in the middle. And so if we narrowed our focus and asked for a sidewalk down there, that might be another baby step in the right direction. And if they said, well, it's got to be an island, we're just not going to lower it to 25, hopefully they'd give us the money to put that island in. So that's where we're at on that.
Hey, Rick, for the question, if we go to this appeal process, do you think that it would negatively impact the speed reduction that they already did give us from the
No.
fire station north 500 feet?
Not at all, because there was a death there, and that they did that on their own. They just did it after the study because they needed to hurry up and get it done.
What's the process for, how long does it take and when does, who makes the signs and all that?
What do you mean?
Is it to extend the 40 mile an hour?
So that, they did say that would be done within this month.
So they would do.
Yeah,
ODOT.
and
ODOT.
yeah, that's ODOT takes care of the signs on that.
Okay, great. The other thing I would note is that we did approve the purchase of the mobile lights, and that does collect data. So that could be useful information to anybody that is concerned.
Will ODOT also be putting in their signs in front of, right before you get to most fire stations with a fire truck to let you know that you're getting there, what's up ahead, and we don't have one of those signs either way, so is that something else?
I have not, that has not been part of our conversation, an additional marker of the fire department, just the speed change signs.
I would think that the fire district would want to be pushing that issue, given their exposure.
Thank you.
That was good questions. Okay.
I just have a couple additional things to add on. The new flashers for the pedestrian crosswalk, we have ordered them and they were slated to arrive August 8th, and they actually just arrived this last week. And so we do hope to have them in by the 4th of July. When we had the note that they were not going to arrive until August 8th, we had ordered flags that people could use to cross the road with and leave it on, pick one up and leave it. Because we are approaching the visitor season. If for some reason we are unable to get this flasher replaced with the work that it entails before July 1st, we will still put up those flags for people to use.
That's what they used to do, right?
Yeah. It worked really well.
Yeah, they,
What happened to
The
them?
flags
Except
kept
the flags kept
disappearing.
disappearing correctly.
That was what the problem.
I don't know what they're
Flags all
doing.
they
disappeared.
do have that in Sisters. So, and it works. So, and we have let ODOT know that would be our kind of fill-in
Yes.
safety mechanism. Also, the Public Works crew did fix that curb near Second Street. And we had some great achievements in City Hall recently. Becca Parrish, our utilities clerk, completed a leadership Lincoln program, and Kimmy Jackson, our deputy recorder, completed a certified municipal clerk's certificate that she's been working hard on getting for many years. We will be working on all of our city staff's annual reviews over the next 5 weeks. We have paving happening, both the 25 fiscal year 25 projects, and then we'll be pairing that with the fiscal year 26 projects. And that's making a big impact. I had ODOT update on my list of things to talk about. So thank you. We already got that. We have a work group for the ADA restrooms on the north ends of the Commons that's been meeting to come up with a design that involves a couple members from the Parks and Commons Commission and a member of the Polly Plum Commission, Rosa, and myself, or not commission, excuse me, committee group organization. And we've had many different iterations of what could be a phase 1 and phase 2 of that space to maximize the usage over there. And I think we have come up with a couple really good solutions that partner into the concepts that the advisory group of Sharon Design, or excuse me, not advisory group, but the Sharon Designs studios for the Commons Master Plan. This links into that kind of concept that was provided through them. That's been really, I think, a very positive work group, and I think we're making really good movement, and had a lot of different opinions, but we're really kind of coming together, and I think something that can make everybody happy. And just a reminder that the July 1st weed control date is coming around the corner. We have sent out notices to folks with empty lots that we need to have those weeds and brush trimmed back for fire and safety and hazard by July 1st.
Did everyone with the empty lot receive that
Mhm.
notice, or was it-
Yes.
okay.
Yep, everyone with an empty lot received that notice, regardless of where they're at.
That are put down and have weeds aside.
They have received those. Also, we have each of those are taken like 3 steps further. So kind of we're working on what that next final step could be with those particular lots. But something that's being worked on. Okay. And the Little Log Church Museum Friends group has been working really diligently on the what the interior design and the displays will be looking like when they're able to bring that together. They will do a presentation at our July City Council meeting to show what that's going to look like. There's been real efforts into ensuring that there is a good portion that's dedicated to the Native Americans and the history of their history, their sub-agency years, and their current years of what they're doing to preserve their culture and languages. And there's been a real effort to do that and make sure that it's in conjunction and supervised by the tribes themselves as well. Then one thing I did also want to point out is that on our city staff reports, Rosa has added the user graphs from the Commons, which I think is really interesting piece of information, because it does feel like there's never any time to use the Commons or it's being overused, but there truly is a lot of time that can be used. So I think that would be a good place for some of the more heavy user groups to refer to when they're thinking they might need extra time in the multi-purpose room or in the commons, that there is space and there is times that are available. And our final advisory group for the Commons Master Plan is set for 1 p.m. on the 27th of June. And then those final designs will be going to the July Parks and Commons Commission for review, and then finally for adoption here in our July City Council meeting.
Will there be another city event to, okay.
That's kind of my little things that I didn't
Yeah.
quite get into the thing or have happened since my report, but I wanted to make sure that were discussed today. Yes.
And I get a motion to approve the consent agenda with the one, at least one change that I had noted.
So
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving on. Brings us to new business, and the first order of new business is a community presentation on climate resiliency. We have a guest presenter. Material is in the packet, and we've asked to kind of keep these presentations to the 15-minute time frame.
First of all, been there for 25 years and I've participated in city council events and meetings off and on over those years. And I must say how impressed I am with this city in the last few years and this stuff that's been accomplished here. And this meeting just represents that. So I feel grateful for all that. I'm Tom Kearns, a retired philosophy professor. I live over on Marine Drive. And for the past 10 or 12 years, I've been working at the intersection of climate change and young people and human rights. And more recently, I have been researching low-cost, climate-related, modest initiatives, climate-related initiatives that small local governments could undertake if they wanted to do something about climate change. And came up with 10 or 12 of those. Today we have time for just 2. So 3 points today. Number one, to look at a couple studies about children's distress about the climate and some recommendations about what to do about that. Point 2 will be children have rights and governments have obligations and to protect those rights. And third, 2 initiatives that the city could undertake if they wanted something about the climate. One was the Youth Advisory Committee and one was that art project. And I'm hoping that you had a chance to look through those. So first, 2 studies. One is the one that was published in the Lancet in 2021. But it's just you saw, I think, some of the findings of that study, but I want to underscore a couple of them. So this was a study of 10,000 young people around the world in 10 different countries, so 1,000 kids per country. US is one of those countries, so it's 1,000 kids in the US. And here are some of their findings. Respondents across all countries, that is children across all countries, were worried about climate change. 59% were very or extremely worried, and 84% were at least moderately. More than 50%, more than half kids reported each of the following emotions: sad, anxious, angry, powerless, helpless, and guilty. Guilty puzzles me. More than 45% of respondents said their feelings about climate change negatively affected their daily life and functioning. So that's not news. We've known that from studies that came out over the last couple of decades. But this study added one other piece. This is a quote. Distress about climate change is associated with young people perceiving that they have no future, that humanity is doomed, and that governments are failing to respond adequately, and with feelings of betrayal and abandonment by governments and adults. Another quote. Children of present and future generations will bear unacceptably high disease burden from climate change, partly because exposure to chronic stress in childhood has a long-lasting impact and increases the risk of developing mental health problems later in life. And finally, large numbers of young people globally regard governments as failing to acknowledge or act on the crisis in a coherent, urgent way, or even respond to their alarm. This is experienced as betrayal and abandonment, not just of the individual kid, but of young people and future generations generally. So that's the Lancet study. Now we're going to look at an Oregon-based study. This is an Oregon report on youth climate-related mental health issues, and came out in 2022, a year after this one. And it said, all that stuff in the Lancet report, basically true right here in Oregon too. And we have, Oregon is experiencing a youth climate-related mental health crisis, as every other state in the union also is. And we have 5 recommendations, Oregon Health Authority says. I want to underscore 2 because I think they're important and radical in a way. First, increase youth agency, belonging, and hope by sharing power in decision-making about climate and mental health issues. And the second recommendation is to, and I think this one's striking, take youth seriously as equal partners to adults in addressing the climate crisis. Okay, so that's first point, which is that youth are experiencing distress and they're feeling abandoned, and OHA has some recommendations for what to do. But the second point is that children have rights and governments have obligations. You know, there's a lot of ways we could go with this topic, but we're gonna, with time limitations, we're going to focus only on the Convention on the Rights of the Child. The UN Convention came into force in 1990, and it is the most signed and ratified human rights document ever in history. 196 nations, that's every nation in the world except one. Every nation in the world has signed it. Every nation in the world except one has ratified it. What ratified means is that nation accepts it as part of domestic law. And this is a powerful document, and it's easy to read. Human rights documents are easy to read. They're written so that regular people can read it. Then in 2023, just 2 years ago, the UN put together a document that they called General Comment 26. Horrible, horrible title, powerful document that it is. And what General Comment 26 does is lay out all the ways in which climate change undermines children's rights. It just goes through children's rights and lays out all the ways they're being undermined now and in the future. Also in 2023, a couple of years before, the UN put together a group of children to help them write a children's version of General Comment 2026. So if you look at General Comment 2026, it's it's written for grown-ups. It's very readable, but it's still a document. And then in 2023, they put together a children's briefing of General Comment 26. It's colorful. It's got fun images and text and quotations. It's delight to read it. We had time to have it, clicked on it and show you what it looked like. Maybe you clicked on it. And then the UN also put together a 4-minute animation of what General Comment 26 is about. And we normally in these presentations, I click on that and we watch it for 20 or 30 seconds, and it's just a delight. And then on the day that the UN made this General Comment 26 public, they asked one of the young girls of the 120 some kids that they got together to create this document, asked her to introduce it to the world. And it's a 6-minute video, and she.
I'm going to interrupt you. I'm going to interrupt you. So I appreciate the background, but what's your ask of the council? Can we move to that and what we should be doing and thinking rather than the background, which I think we were familiar with?
Yeah, I've only got another minute or two, so I'm gonna.
Okay.
So this point, second point is that children have rights and governments have obligations. Human rights obligations. We decided as a country when we were founded, in the Declaration of Independence, that we're all created equal. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that we're all created equal. We're endowed with certain unalienable rights, and that governments have to secure these rights. Governments are instituted among men. So governments are instituted to secure rights. Okay, so point number 2 is children have rights and governments have obligations. Point number 3 is 2 initiatives that Yahats could undertake if we wanted to do something about the climate crisis. One is the Youth Climate Advisory Committee idea. And that directly involves young people in decision-making, advising, serving as an advisor to the city council. So that involves them in decision-making, like the OHA recommendation, the Convention on the Rights of the Child requires. And the second is some city-sponsored climate-related art project, of which there have been several different forms. One, I didn't want to be too prescriptive in this because there's so many different ways it could go. One could be for an art project for everyone in Yahats or everyone in the area. It could be an art project or contest for kids, starting as young as you want to make it up to level 4. And or a third possibility is one that I like. It's called a climate ribbon tree, and it's the city picks a tree or some kind of a structure that they're going to hang ribbons from, and then have a snap of ribbons under it, so that people can pick up one of those ribbons and write down on it something that you love so much that you don't want it to go away because of climate change, and then hang that on the tree, and that stays there for a time. So those are a couple of suggestions, ideas for how the city could meet its human rights obligations, could comply with OHA's recommendation, and could show young people that we take their distress and sense of betrayal seriously and want to do something about it.
Okay, thank you. Thoughts?
Thank you.
So I think this could be a really great way to start including some of the teenagers who live in the area who probably feel like they're not part of the city. So the younger kids definitely have a huge part of the city, but I can see the teenagers maybe wanting to do something like this to feel like they are being heard and part of the community. And maybe they can even mentor the younger kids who might not be so self-motivated to do something on their own. So I think that could be really interesting, and I can see how something like this, getting the kids involved, can also be then tied in with some of the ecotourism that we're trying to promote here and kind of get them on board to work with that. So I can,
The art project especially has big potential.
yeah,
And I think the Youth Climate Advisory Committee idea has potential for bringing in visitors who want to watch.
yes.
How do you guys do this?
I've often thought having a youth, like junior city council
Yeah,
would be an awesome idea.
yes. I think it would be fun.
My questions would be, have you reached out to YFAP? Have you reached out to the schools? And have you reached out to View the Future, all of whom have contacts with children, see the children every day, are probably well-versed in organizing them. View the Future, for example, has a 2-day symposium coming up on climate. So have you approached them also to get their support and their willingness to help organize this?
I haven't, but I work with them. In Florida, yeah, but what I'm hoping is that, and that this wouldn't be too demanding, I don't think it's costly. That it wouldn't be too demanding on the city council, I mean, they're all volunteers. So the idea would be that the city would announce, we want to start a youth climate advisory committee, make it public as public as possible, and then appoint some citizen. Ask for volunteers, some citizen to be the point person for, if you're interested in being on this committee, contact this person. They'll collect that information, take the next steps, whatever those are going to be. I hope that that person wouldn't be 70 or 80 years old. Because, I don't know if you know the way kids think about grown-ups these days, but it's not, they don't think of, if these studies have any truth to them, kids aren't thinking of grown-ups as somebody that's on their side when it comes to climate stuff, so.
Do we have examples of sort of the initiatives or the projects that other youth community committees have been engaged in?
No, I know that there are others, Portland and I think Milwaukee, but other big cities, Palo Alto and Boise. But those are big cities and they've got a whole different demographic, they can pay kids. I'm hoping that those kids on this committee would get paid, but we might have to write a grant to.
So what kinds of things would they do? I mean, is it tree planting? Is it climate studies? I mean, so there's a committee. The committee has to have typically we ask our committees to have deliverables and objectives and things that we ask them to do. So I'm just looking for, are there examples of what might be an appropriate, what kids have come up with in the past?
First of all, it's not a committee that would do stuff. It's a committee that would advise stuff. It's a youth.
Advise on what, I guess. Is
on climate related, anything climate related and anything mental health related.
I'm unclear. So what is climate related?
That might be part of the problem, is that young people are going to have a clearer idea of what they think is important when it comes to climate than grown-ups do. Grown-ups, I hate to say this, but I think grown-ups don't take it as seriously as kids do. Kids, it's their whole life in the future. And for us, we've already got our sea legs in the world in here.
I understand all that. I'm looking for what kinds of things might they advise us on as a city council. I mean, we have very little, we don't have coal plants, so what kinds of things, what would they be discussing with the relevant to yachts?
So for you, Craig, I put these deliverables.
Well, and none of them were things that I could kind of get my hands around. I mean, they're all nice things, I understand that, but they're like, it's not the cost, but it is a time issue. If we have city council members that want to take this on, I'm very supportive of that. But I want to see what the kids are doing. I mean, the League of Oregon Cities has a very active program around youth city government. And they enact and they propose laws, etc. And that's what I'm looking for, is what would the output be? I mean, we know, so that program exists and it's been in existence for some time. They present at the League of Oregon Cities. So we're looking for what are they going to do? I mean, they're going to discuss climate. They're going to tell us we should or can think about something more. Is it they're going to come in? What kinds of areas are they going to help us with?
We see. They might come up with stuff that we haven't thought of.
Okay.
We've thought of stuff. I mean, any of us could come up with ideas that advisory committee could advise the city council to take on. Take on an art project, they might say. Here's a different idea for how to take on an art project. And you ought to look at, I don't know, I'm just.
Okay.
Nicole,
So,
I'm sorry, I think she has a greater, my kids are all old. I mean, I know my youngest said he would never have children because of what the climate and all the problems.
Yeah.
What do you see? Do you see, I know you guys are coming together to educate your children in a different way than going to school.
Yeah.
Do you see any opening there at all? Just have an initial discussion.
Yeah,
I don't think it's the initial discussion with children, adolescents about what they think. We can sit here and be whatever we are, but I'd like to hear from the children.
So what I've been hearing a lot around with kids is that they'll just talk to themselves about some of the concerns that they have.
Okay.
They realize, like, one of the big things that they keep bringing up is how hot it was on that Mother's Day a few years ago. So it's still in their current language. So they're super concerned about stuff and they might just be unsure, like, what to do about it.
And where to
So-
learn about it.
Yeah.
And if they can put their energy to something,
Mhm.
then they feel some power and some ability to manage their own emotions as well.
Exactly, it's theirs either.
So my question is there a city council that wants to take this on?
I think there is somebody in town who would be really good at it, but I don't want
I don't want
to.
it should be the city
Announce it.
council.
Yeah.
I absolutely do not think it should be
Yeah.
the city council. It needs to be a member of this community who's maybe younger than 70, which would be
Yes.
no
Well,
one.
there's someone in town has a huge
And someone who has an
background in
interest.
mentoring children.
Could you
And so-
talk to this person?
Yeah.
I think it needs to be someone who's worked with children or knows children, who's excited, who's younger than any of us. I don't think any of us, I may be bored to death. I mean, they know more than I do.
So I would be really willing to hear from a mentor or
Yeah.
the children in terms of what they want.
Yes.
Mhm.
I think we can agree on that. Regarding the art project, have you spoken with the Art Guild or the music,
Oh, that's a good
the
point.
traveling group? There's a committee, a work group, I should say, I'm sorry, a work group that the city manager has reports to her about art projects. I think that would be where I would suggest that discussion best be focused. There are the people that are already doing artwork, they're having shows here, probably looking for themes that would be helpful. We have they're committed and they're organized already, I guess is what my position would be on that. That discussion around environmental topics in art would best be
Mhm.
placed there. In terms of tying that into a youth commission, I think there's legs there clearly, but we need a youth group first before start getting involved in that.
I think if we can find someone who's interested in this, interested in working with children, I think that's the starting point, to be honest with you. And then that person is the person who's going to go out and gauge, I mean, once she's gauged what the kids are interested in, I mean, I think it would be really exciting, to be honest with you, but it is getting somewhere, I think someone's young, who's really invested in what's going on with climate. And certainly we can give suggestions and try and support, but if we can even start there.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a great thing.
It could be.
And then we could have an ongoing conversation. And I think we're gonna learn a lot from our children and our kids, because again, we're way beyond that.
Yeah.
And I would like to see what they think, and it could be it could be starting with an art project.
Well, then, but I think what the lesson would be is that, hey, there's people doing art. Here's the organization structures that exist. How do you, as a youth, leverage that? I mean, it's,
Well, but you gotta have someone guiding them, that,
I understand.
year-old is gonna be able to do that.
I think we all are liking this idea, and I think we're rambling.
Yeah, okay, I agree.
I
Well,
think we really like the idea.
I think step one is getting this person to see if they wanna do it.
Yes.
Which idea?
The ideas that you're presenting in terms of both getting the youth involved in an organizational fashion, as well as the art kinds of projects.
Well, there'd be other things.
But also, if you're able to also reach out to some of the other pieces that have been mentioned, that would be great. As well as us sharing that piece.
On the art project, the city has a goal, an art-related goal.
Yeah, and
Still
And
working on it.
2025 action plan that focuses on that. This could be,
Mhm.
I'm sort of, one of my gigs is that governments need to step up and do stuff, not just let other people do stuff. But this stuff that in both globally and here in Oregon, kids are feeling abandoned, betrayed by their governments not doing stuff. That's why I think a city-sponsored art project is easy. Pick a volunteer artist. Got a bunch of them here. They'd love to do this.
Well, but we need someone that is willing to lead that, Tom.
well,
And I think we've got, Nicole is willing to talk to someone, because she'd be the one, I think, that would be going to the artist and saying, listen, we want to get our kids involved, but you've got to have an adult of some sort involved in this. That doesn't mean the city can't do supportive things.
Yes.
But I think in starting that initial, you need someone who's closer to children
Yes.
than we are, and just start the conversation with kids.
but the art project is not exclusive to children. And what I want to say to that is that we had a group of adults that organized and approached the city manager as a work group. And that's how our goal derived. It wasn't something that we just invented in thin air. We had a work group of responsible adults that were organized, that came to the city manager, said, we'd like to talk to you about how we can do this moving forward. I don't think that involved the art guild though, did it?
I think some members, that are participating in Mary Ellen's working on it, yeah.
So my point is that we didn't just think it up and say, this is what the city's going to do. We were responding to a group of people that we thought, oh, this is a really good idea. Let's make it a goal and let's work closely with them. And I think that the contact in terms of what about an environmental theme for a show or a permanent exhibit akin to the ribbon project, something like that, I think that would be the best place to approach that. So where there's already initiative and alignment would be how I would approach that, rather than it is one of our goals. And so we're obviously going to be very supportive of whatever comes out of that discussion. But I think approaching them with this kind of information would be very the next.
Maybe a good place to start would be Nicole talking to the person that she thinks could be interested. And then maybe if there's a person who's interested and there are kids who are interested, maybe their first project could be something like this ribbon tree, and they go around and that's what they're like how they reach out to community members is going and putting this kind of together and asking people to participate and kind of making a big thing about it. And that could be like their first
Absolutely.
involvement or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And let's hope whoever this is.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good.
But I think the art project was also adult. I mean, it was climate themes, and we've got the artists, we've got the organizations. We just need to kind of say,
I
Here's-
think his focus is on the youth.
Well, there were two proposals. And one of the possibilities for the youth was to participate in. So I think in terms of greater art that involves the whole community in addition.
think
I am
it's
working with
directly
the
linked
artists.
Okay,
I'm working with two of the artists. We're gonna rewrite what they had done, because what we'll be doing is putting out asks, and it could be
Okay.
that we're gonna do it around climate. I think that it's, I'm trying to think of it, but they're both in there, and they're both
Mhm.
incredible artists, let me tell you.
And I think,
Um,
but I think what's
so-
here is talking about youth and mental health. And trying to focus on that, and yes, there's adults interested in art wanting to do that. But I think it's over here where we.
Well, that's what
I think
I'm
we're
saying.
done with the conversation.
Well, what
Okay.
we've done a while ago. She needs to get the woman and get your people. I'm already working with the art people. Let's just do it.
got it. Okay,
That's simple.
okay. So thank you, Tom, for raising this as an issue.
Her last point is
Okay.
that there is an Oregon Sea Grant project
Oh.
going on right now, just started a couple weeks ago. And its work is to survey little governments along the Oregon coast on what they're doing as a government regarding climate. And it's a 10-week project. We just got an update on it last night. And so far, they've found that, and it's small governments on the Oregon coast and up into Washington a ways. And so far, they're just beginning to collect data. And it would be nice if when they survey yachts, we could say, here's some specific things as a government, not just our citizens, but our government is doing. Okay.
All right. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to suggest we take a 6-minute, 7-minute break. Oh, if we
Need a
can,
bell.
we need a bell. How about we come back at 2:45? Does that work?
Sure, I think. How many minutes is that? Okay, who's gonna run first?
All right, we're back in session for our July 2025 council meeting. The next order of business is the City Destination Marketing Organization contract renewal. City Manager, would you spin that up for us?
Absolutely. Yeah. So what we have in front of us today is a renewal of both the contracts for the Destination Marketing Organization, which is the DMO contract, doing our tourism promotion, and the Visitor Center contract. Both of those contracts have traditionally been held by the Yachats Area Chamber of Commerce, and that's what we are keying up again for this year and to continue on for an additional 3-year contract for each of those. And the contracts include the scope of works. The scope of work for this upcoming contract will include the following the strategic marketing plan that was put together for the budget committee that was shared for that committee. It's also connected to this DMO contract. Their scope of work also includes ensuring that they're doing off-season events, really focusing on off-season tourism. They are following the strategic plan. They're supporting the marketing goals of the City of Yachats, and that they cooperate with local and regional state tourism agencies. They provide the work for the 4th of July. They contract with the pyrotechnics that do the firework display and organize all of the parade and everything that goes along with that. And they provide statistical reporting. One thing I did note on that, I used this agreement from previous agreements, and I noticed that it does say that they'll provide monthly statistical reporting, and I will need to make an amendment to that for quarterly to follow along suit to what we've been doing. And so this will encompass a lot of the things that we saw in the strategic marketing plan with digital creation, content creation, social media, website, and print advertisement. The scope of work for the visitor center is they operate the visitor center. They keep it open 7 days a week. They use volunteers to meet and greet people who are coming into town. They answer phone calls of inquiries, people interested or inquiring about yachts, and make sure to guide people around when they arrive into town. So they're really based off of the past contracts that have been put in place and just extending out the date. On the DMO contract, the difference here, one of the differences here is the payments year 1, 2, and 3. Year 1 is higher, and that's based off of what the scope of work coming from the strategic marketing plan and the kind of push to get more content up front with the website build and photography and videography. And then year 2 and 3, that wanes down a little bit on the cost directly from the content creation. And those costs encompass paying for all of the advertisements and within that they place online or in print publications as well.
So I think you just answered my question. I wanted clarity around the scope of work of the plan. This is paying for that.
Yes.
Okay, so there's not a second.
Okay, so these are 2 separate contracts, both Chamber of Commerce, and it's 3 years, but it's a renewal. So they have been doing this work in the past. Is anything new and different about this renewal contract?
That they had the one for the tourism marketing for the DMO is the what is new for this, that they will be following the strategic marketing plan that was put in place this year.
Okay, so
a little more guidance.
Okay.
Mhm,
I have a question.
mhm.
Okay, you used the word pyrotechnics,
Mhm.
with the fireworks, and I would like to know how specific the annual contract to provide Fourth of July fireworks, how specific that is, because in fact, at the end of this meeting, I was gonna bring up something that has been brought up before about my concern about sound fireworks, and I still will bring it up, but I don't want to be agreeing on something if that is the specifics of this contract, in this contract this year it is.
It is written into this contract that they orchestrate the fireworks for the
Okay,
4th of
but-
July.
Does it?
If it doesn't,
I mean, I read.
what it says, so what it says is that they provide the contract for the 4th of July fireworks. If it was decided that it would be in the best decision to do a different type of firework display, which is becoming a popular thing, I think that that could be encompassed in this if that was what was mutually agreed upon. Mhm.
To clarify that,
Mhm.
so somebody waving a hand, but
That's Sandy. She's on the board for the chamber, so I'm guessing she's has a couple things to maybe say and represent. But after you, say what you have to say.
so if the council were to make a decision on what type of display is to be made, we retain that ability to make that decision. We're not committed to.
I'm just wondering if the word fireworks is wrong.
To me, this says they execute for us in all of the verbiage and work in here that they are doing. To me, I see them as a capacity extension to the city because these are all things the city is obligated to do for tourism promotion. The city is not obligated to do the 4th of July fireworks exactly how they have done them in the past. And if that's something that we want to explore, that can be something we work with the chamber on. I don't think that the way that it's written, it says that it has to be pyrotechnics or it has to be drones or it has to be whatever else fancy new way of doing fireworks is out there. Do you think? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Sandy, please.
You're muted. You're muted, Sandy. We can't hear you.
Everyone point your ears.
I'm sorry. We do have a contract in place for this coming fireworks. We have to do those about a year in advance. So there is a contract for this year. If we choose not to do something the next year, we need to know that right away. So we don't enter into a contract with the pyrotechnics people. We have explored other options, like a light show drone. One estimate that we got was over $100,000. We need to have a field that is large enough to stage out of. There's no flat field large enough to stage out of. And because of the possible winds, and that could happen in the fact that it's flying over water, probably there's less likelihood of finding anybody to actually do this. We have asked for and we can specify the fireworks. We've asked for the big boom ones that don't have any ray or any sparklers to it. They're just a big boom, to those to be taken out. So that big loud boom with no visual have been taken out. We didn't have them last year either. So we are working to try to minimize things. We can cut it down to a 10-minute show. They'll do whatever we want. It just depends on how much we want to cost. But we actually have been exploring other options, but given our location and weather, it's hard to come up with anything, and we need more money to do it.
Isn't Lincoln City or someone doing drones this year?
Mhm.
It'd be interesting to see how that goes, I
Mhm.
think.
This is our first year doing.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how much it costs and how, they have the same conditions we have.
They might just have a larger launching location.
Well, I'm thinking about the
maybe.
wind and
Yeah, the
'cause
wind
I
in the
think those are
ocean.
Good points, yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen a demonstration where they've used like a football field to lay them all out that they take off from. We don't have any flat fields the size that would be needed for what we have here.
The Adobe or the green space wouldn't be large enough.
It takes helicopters.
It might, I guess.
That's where the helicopters land.
But anyway, just the key thing in there is that we do have a contract for this year.
Right,
If we choose now not to have some fireworks for this 4th of July, we still have spent close to $13,000. And we'd have to pay more because we have a signed contract and then we get
Yeah.
nothing for it. So I just wanted to
So
advise
that's
you
an
of that.
aside, and I'm gonna bring it up later in the meeting,
That's locked in.
Yeah.
but I just wanted to make sure we weren't bound by something here.
Sure. Yeah. So this year it would be way too late to make any kind of change, but I see what you're asking, Catherine, and I think that Sandy's point is really needs to be considered, that if we do decide to do something different, that we do it in plenty of advance, since the contracts are signed about a year out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
With money, probably additional funding.
Mhm.
Okay,
Comes from-
later, that's.
It comes from somewhere else, so,
Mhm, mhm.
okay,
Thank you, Sandy.
question for the Sandy and city manager, probably city manager can ask. As the leaseholders for the space, are we able to do for the visitor center? Are we able to do the required improvements, and is that, are we funding it adequately, overfunding it, et cetera? You know, it's staffed mostly with volunteers, but I think, did we just do some bathroom improvements or something?
I know in the past year, they've done some interior upgrades with paint and flooring and fixing up the interior. The exterior, it is the responsibility of the leaseholder to do that. And I believe there have been serious discussions about it happening fairly soon. I'm sure Sandy would know more about an updated information on that than I. Is there anything in the works with them doing siding or roofing repair?
Yes, last time I talked to Jerry Clark, he was going to be doing some more work. He had finished up the sheds out back and he was going to do some work in the front. I haven't heard what that schedule is. We, the chamber, actually have the lease contract with Clark's Market. We've had that for over 25 years for that particular space there. And we, the chamber and some of the tourism promotion money have been put into doing the maintenance and the maintenance of that public bathroom. And we spend in fact, I think this year we're gonna spend a little bit more of the allocated funds. Because it's just costing a little bit more to actually run that particular operation, but I believe that Clark's is going to be doing some exterior stuff. We changed the sign out this year. We took the chamber sign down, but the visitor center sign had a new one made, put it back up.
Okay. Good. All right. Well, I think it's a bargain anyhow, so. Okay.
Yeah, I think that we might, depending on how expenses go for them, we may have to make a amendment for additional funding if it continues to cost more for cleaning and maintenance and things like that. And so we should be aware that could potentially come for in next year's budget.
Okay. Yeah, we've been.
And in terms of the outside, I believe all those buildings are owned by the same person.
Yes.
So they just totally redid the bookstore. All new siding and so forth. And I think they've done some roofing things over the just locals. And I saw some guys up there measuring in terms of the roof there. So they seem to be actively doing.
Oh, that's great. That'll improve the whole area a lot.
You can watch this all from your deck.
Okay.
Town watch.
All right, so we have any concerns with the contracts as written? Can I get a motion to approve? Let's start a motion to approve the DMO contract for as written, except for the change that the monthly reporting versus quarterly reporting versus monthly reporting. Scope of the contract is $261,000 plus year one, 249 for the 2 subsequent years.
So moved.
Okay, Counselor Carey, how do you vote?
Yes.
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 And the mayor votes yes. So we have approved that one contract. The visitor center contract, I would need to open it up, but to the best of my recollection, it is for $45,000.
46.
46, thank you. Any discussion regarding the visitor center? I'm trying to pull it up. I don't think I had anything.
I think my only thing would be that what I had mentioned that we probably might need to be prepared for an amendment on the annual contribution in upcoming budgets.
$45,000, that's $4,000 a month. Seems like it should be doable, but of course, we're always open to changes if necessary. Any discussion on this contract for the visitor center contract? Oops, sorry. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the Yahats Area Chamber of Commerce as consultant for the visitor center contract?
So moved.
Counselor Collins moved. Any additional discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. None opposed. So we have approved both of those contracts. So thank you, and thank you, Sandy, for your input.
Thank you. On behalf of the chamber, we thank you for approving the contracts before the
Mhm.
year's out. That's good. And we look forward to working with you for another 3 years.
All right, wonderful.
Sandy.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to the East Second Street contract. Is Rick still here? Because I had a question.
Rick is on and prepared to talk about this
Okay.
topic.
Hey, exciting, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your question?
So,
I'm sorry, I'm just gonna have him give an overview.
okay, yes.
If you could just give an overview of the project and what we're doing here today with this contract.
Okay, so this is the third and final phase of the East Second Street project. It began with replacing the water line from Highway 101 and Second Street. Now the last phase is to go down Cedar Street to Yahats River Road and connect to a pipe that's already there. So while we're doing that, we're gonna fix up the any sewer patches that are repairs that might need to be done. We're also gonna put new services on all the meter boxes from the new line. So new pipes to the meter and improve the drainage on top of East Second Street. There's always been a little drainage problem there. We're going to address that. And we're not going to repave the whole road, but we are going to patch certain areas more than others. And my focus for the best and most money patch will be the corner of East Second Street and Cedar. The garbage trucks tend to tear that corner up, and it's always a mess. And that's the project.
So we have this contract that is in front of us, and the reason we have it in front of you all today is because it is over my authority to sign for the city manager. And this high dollar level contract needs to be looked at by the city council and approved by the city council. So that's why you have it here in front of you today.
One just kind of probably my own error and ignorance, Rick, is I thought at one point that we brought the water up in under Loma Street. but that's not correct.
Okay, so to get to the the reservoirs, that comes up Prospect.
Mhm.
Loma has a little sideline, and but the water, it's a complex system right down there on Cedar Street and Yahas River Road.
Mhm.
We're not allowed to sell water there if it's coming from the water plant. We can't sell water until it gets to Highway 101 as part of the chlorine detention time. So to solve that problem, they ran a line down East Second, and it comes down on the Yahas River Road to a transmission line there. So that's how we get water down there. And that line is asbestos concrete, and we're trying to replace all of that anyway. So that's where the water comes from.
Okay, I see. And we have had problems with leakage at that corner. I know we fixed that more than once.
Yeah.
Okay. My only other comment is that the bids looked, for some reason it's not showing up. The bids look good, and they were under the West Tech estimate. Who Jesse Rodriguez did the previous project for us. They were
Yeah.
really good job. They were a little bit high. Are we confident that the Lasky Clifton Company is going to do as good a job?
As good as any, every job's a little different. If I had to pick one contractor who I thought was the best, I don't know if I should be talking like that, but it would be Ray Wells. He's the supreme outfit around here. But I've seen Lansky around on job sites quite often when I drive around. So, and the engineer had good references. The lowest experienced one was Coos Excavation. They're a startup company, only a couple of guys, and this job needs traffic control, and once it's started, it has either it's 45 or 60 days. So there's no room for having too small of a crew. The project has to move along.
Mhm.
I can't guarantee any contract.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Okay, we should be glad that we came in under what we had anticipated. That's always a good thing. Any other questions regarding the this contract? Is there we don't need a resolution, you just are looking for us to give you permission?
Mhm.
Any questions or concerns? When were they gonna start it? I'm sure it was in there, May.
Yeah, they have to have it done, I think, by October.
Okay,
And so when they do start, it's 45 or 60 days. It has to be done in that window.
okay. We through the 7-day protest period, or we haven't awarded the contract yet, so I guess we haven't.
Yeah.
Okay. I move that we approve we approve the city manager's signature on this contract for to move forward with contract with Lasky Clifton Corporation for the phase 3 of the East Second Street project. Any discussion? There's a planned expense. Okay. We'll start this way. Mary Ellen, how do you vote?
Yes.
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 The mayor votes yes. So city manager, do your magic.
All right. Well, and one last
Thank
thing.
you.
it does say in the contract that there's a 15% of the bid total 60,000 if they run into problems. So I think it's.
Yeah, my thought on that is, through experience, I've learned that our departments rarely spend all the budgeted CIP money per year.
Okay,
And I think there's room for a contingency within our current budget. Because usually a project somewhere, it doesn't get done.
right.
So we always have that money sitting around.
I think
And
that's a good thing.
yeah.
And we do have some contingency in our budget for general purposes anyhow. Okay, good, all right. We'll get that moving, just as long as you don't start on 4th of July.
Thank you.
All right, now we get into some of the operational items. Do we need to first approve the budget before we? I guess probably not.
The Department of Revenues.
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether we should first approve.
Since this is all going to be within the meeting, that it's okay.
It'll be okay.
Yeah,
Right.
to do it piece by piece.
Okay.
So this, for a first order of business that we have for budget approvals is a resolution that is the draft is provided to us by the Department of Administrative Services, DAS, and this is certifying that our city elects to receive state funds, specifically marijuana funds, and that we sign this resolution and we send this back along with a survey that the city manager will fill out, and this is due by July 31st, and this is in part what we rely on for our general fund revenue. It is one of the taxes that we receive annually and need to continue receiving. So you have a resolution that is resolution 261. The language comes from the Department of Administrative Services. And by approving this, it will allow me to then fill out the survey, attach this resolution, and elect to receive funds.
I thought it was highway funds and liquor funds also.
This is, it says annually receive state revenues. And then it does specifically say also to allow marijuana.
So that's,
It kind of separates those out because not every city elects to receive those funds.
I will say that I believe it's 430 of 432 entities do vote to receive state revenues. It's only a few that don't, and it's probably because of, as you just told us, the marijuana. Okay. Can you get a motion to approve resolution number 2025-261?
So moved.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We will accept state revenues. Boy. Okay, Department Budget Committee's resolution to collect taxes, resolution 262.
And on this one, I'll give a brief note that we have given you an updated version here of 225, 262 that you have in front of you. Mr. Morphus has also added it to the Agenda Center, so it is available for public viewing. And the change here is on number 2, where it states the city will be collecting the amount of $43,770 for debt services on the general obligation bond. This is the taxes that are collected for our water general obligation bond. The correction is in that amount, 43,770. the amount that was in our first budget review was 49,122. And with the information we received from the county, we corrected that. Yes, sir.
There was another correction that's needed.
Okay.
First line says, be resolved that the following and valorem. That's not a word, it's ad valorem, AD.
Okay. We can make that.
Probably a autocorrect that somebody didn't notice.
Yes. Thank you for that. We will get that corrected before signed after the motion and those steps.
Any discussion on this? It's, we have done in the years past, and our permanent rate tax is.
Right.
Okay. There's another correction that needs to be made.
Oh, okay.
So under excluded, or it's third line from the bottom, excluded form limitations, probably should be from limitations.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Heard you corrected.
Appreciate those. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else, any other editors that are better than I am? If not, can we have a motion to approve resolution 2025-262 with the changes as noted?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Move that forward. Okay. The next order of business is our budget. Adopt the budget for 25-26. We have the final budget in our packet, our online packet.
Yes.
There were some, at least one that I know of, a rather substantive change.
So a few changes that happened in here, well, most were largely, we had some layout changes. And that was the most recent change where we had made a substitute on the agenda after it was posted, as we moved the summaries up. And so they're what is seen right after reading the budget at a glance to kind of to give that high level budget overview before it goes into the description of our form of government and the line item detail. And then in this version here, it does in the line item detail note that all of the changes from what was adopted by the budget committee versus what was proposed. So that proposed line column and the adopted column there will be some changes in some of those based off of the suggestions given during that budget committee session. In some of in the summary, we did exclude the streets and storm drains from what was the Public Works Fund summary and put that into the general fund summary, which it is truly a general fund. And then exclusively made the Public Works the enterprise fund. So it's only the enterprise funds, which are self-funding. So that got cleaned up a little bit more since our meetings. And then we did receive the tax information from Lincoln County. So in the along with the edit that I mentioned earlier for what we were collecting for the GEO bond, also in the city services section, that's page 29, the amount that we've put for our current tax collection is higher than what we had originally put during our budget committee meeting. So those are a couple big changes. We did also add in here the purchase of the trailer, the speed trailer that was discussed in our last month's meeting in the capital improvement projects purchases. Did I miss any?
There was the schedule, payment schedule for one of the bonds.
Yes, Julie did that for us. Just she has been a huge help. Thank you, Julie. I know you're on there. Really appreciate your help with this. Especially as I started burning out at the end, she kept going. In the debt fund section, she did add in an amortization schedule, and I'm trying to get to what page that is. It's in the debt fund service towards the middle end of the book, and that looks like it's going to be in the page 52. So there is a summary of outstanding debt, which does include the amortization schedule. Wait, no, that's just
So
the
I think
summary.
what it was is that we had the wrong, I don't know whether it was, had the wrong year, but we had, for one of the funds, we owe less money than we thought for the
Oh, yes.
loan.
Yes.
It was originally $1 million. Through Julie's work on the amortization, it came out to 853. So we actually owe less money than we thought we did, which is a good thing.
Yes, yes, thank you for that. And we did also make that change that was discussed in the budget committee meetings for the transfer of $100,000 from the URD into the south tank as part of the agreement that was originally put in place. Overall, I'm very happy with how this budget book turned out and the budget presentation turned out and how the meetings went. I think it went very, very well. And I'm greatly appreciative to all of the help that has been put into it.
Not to mention all the pretty pictures.
That helps, right? Very got numbers and words.
The picture book.
I have a picture of the library that I'm curious about. There's this great picture in here of the Little Log Museum that's going to be a great before and after. So
Yeah, we didn't get a great one in there yet, but next year.
maybe somebody will have a before picture.
So resolution 263 summarizes the budget. And this is the version you have printed in front of you is a edited version. I filled in a previous year's version and Julie helped clean it up and bring in a little bit more clear information for this final 263 resolution. And that summarizes the full city funding that for the fiscal year and as a whole, and then it breaks it down into general funds and debt services and enterprise funds.
Okay.
And it's on at the front and back. So you can see that.
Why don't we take just a couple minutes so everybody can look it over carefully?
Yeah, babe. So.
I do have a question. In I see the lines unappropriated ending balance. And I assume that those are sort of the carry forward.
Yes.
But I guess I don't know why we would have why we'd have that under debt services. Is there some commitment that we have to carry to have cash on hand?
We.
I know there's at
do.
least one.
Mhm, mhm. There is, one of the debts, services, or one of the agreements that we have that requires we have half of the loan at all times
Okay.
in the account.
This isn't big, but on total revenue, personal services, materials, I think there's a space missing in between and donations, but I could be wrong. It's on mine, it says grants, gifts, allocation, and donations. I think there needs to be a space in there.
Okay. I think you
That
might
must be an
looking at
old
the
version.
Old one.
Oh, it's an old version?
Yeah, the one, we've got the one in
Oh,
front of you.
I'm-
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, and these lines are taken off of the LB1 form.
Mhm.
That is the official document that we submit with our resolutions and the final document to the county and the state.
Do we not have to explicitly approve LB1?
No, this is the summary of it in the resolution.
Okay, I vaguely remember that we have voted on LB1 in the past.
It was in last year's agenda, but and I asked if it had to be, that specifically had to be approved. Just this resolution, the summary of it has to. Mhm.
Because this is more helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, we've had a few minutes to look it over. Questions? All been discussed, but this is an adoption of our 25-26 budget. So can I get a resolution, a motion to approve resolution number 2025-236 to adopt our 25-26 budget?
263.
263, thank you.
Usually I'm not good with numbers, but.
Yeah, but that's, and I'm dyslexic, so. 2020, so resolution, a motion to approve resolution number 2025-263, adopting our 25-26 budget. Can you get a motion for that? Okay. We'll go around the room on this one. We'll start here.
Okay, yes.
Barry?
Yes.
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 And the mayor votes yes. So we have a budget for next year.
Thank you all for all your hard work on this project. Yes.
All right, I am going to adjourn the city council meeting. Is it adjourn or?
We still have 260.
That's part of the urban renewal. So we're going to adjourn this and reopen as the agency.
Thank you.
We're not going to adjourn, we're going to what is it? If we're not adjourning, we are pausing. We'll adjourn it. We'll adjourn the meeting, the city council meeting of the 18th.
Can I interrupt you for one
Yes.
second? Should we finish? We have a couple of things from staff.
Yes.
Staff.
I'd be more,
Adjourn.
I think I'd be more comfortable with that, yes.
Okay,
Being flipping back and forth.
okay. So let's do from the mayor, from the council, from staff
Okay.
first, and then adjourn, and then go to urban renewal. Okay,
Sounds
perfect.
great.
Okay. Yes.
And finance stays.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, from the mayor, I have drafted two specific notes in support of, one in support of enhancing municipal resilience to tourism impacts in support of HB 3962, which is moving very quickly through the state legislature. That bill will change the proportional allocation from 30/70 to 60/40. Well, we will be able to spend significantly more of the tourism revenues from since the date of 2003, I believe it is, since we started, since the state implemented the revised rate. We still keep the old monies are still grandfathered in, but the portion has flip-flopped to 60/40. And so I wrote a note supporting that, in that it provides critical infrastructure, helps with critical infrastructure, it provides us some flexibility for housing and workforce development, and reflects more accurately tourism marketing needs, given the changes in marketing practices. That we're not buying as many ads, and we can do it more electronically. And then saying that tourism conclusion is, while tourism is economically vital for Yachats, the disproportionate burden on local infrastructure and workforce must be addressed. HB 3962 offers an opportunity to recalibrate these priorities, shifting focus from overinvesting in marketing to ensuring robust infrastructure. This calibration will ensure cities like Yachats remain viable and attractive destinations, and benefiting both visitors and local community in the long term. So this is from the mayor, and that's all it is. It's not from the city council.
Should the city council do one?
The city, the challenge is that it's probably finished this week.
Okay.
So I need to get this, by tomorrow, get this sent off to our legislators.
Okay, and if the council today wanted me to write one on behalf, do you think that
We could do that, Yep.
okay,
and we could just pretty much take the
Yeah,
same copy.
yeah, same messaging?
Yeah, the only thing that I thought was a bit of a stretch was investing in housing and workforce. That's something that has not really been discussed heavily in the legislature, but I think that because we don't have excess funds, we can't really do anything about housing. So some of the shift, we might have some funding that could be applied to workforce housing initiatives. We could also just drop that section and just keep it really clear. What's the council think?
Well, this is the transcendental income.
Correct.
Right.
And their proposal is to change the portion that can be spent on, or to broaden the category of things that the transcendental tax can be spent on, correct?
Technically, it is just simply to say that the percentage that must be spent on marketing and tourist promotion will be reduced.
Okay, so we're not redefining it, we're just swapping the percentages.
Yes.
And right now, I think because we were grandfathered, we had like 40%, or maybe 60% for the, and what would it go to under this bill?
This bill will change, it goes forward, not backwards. The bill will change the percentage to 60% for city discretionary funding and 40% for marketing.
Basically swapping it.
Basically swapping.
Okay.
And that will be, so if we decided next year if this was approved, to raise our tax from the 9.5% to 12% to match the county, that additional percentage would be in that split. And we would maintain our 9.5% at our current rate, which is grandfathered in.
Future increase.
Right.
I think it's, I haven't read it that carefully, obviously, but I believe it's any monies that we get that are not part of the tax era are at that 60/40 split. but you're saying that it's only the increases.
That's what I was under the impression, but we can find that out with detail, yeah.
It's still, this is amendment 14 to the bill, so it's been moving around quite a bit.
I think whatever it is, we support it.
Yes. Okay, so I will work with the city manager to do something very similar to what the mayor's statement is. The other one I wrote, and we will have, the staff will have a resolution for full funding and continuation of Angel Job Corps, which I think Councilor Carey had discussed. This is from me, and I will read this. As mayor of Yachats, Oregon, I wholeheartedly support the continued full funding of the Angel Job Corps, AJC. This program holds deep personal meaning for me, as vocational training provided the foundation for my own successful career, eventually leading to a global management role at a Fortune 150 company and now mayor. AJC directly addresses societal needs by providing struggling young people with crucial workforce development. They offer comprehensive training in essential blue-collar occupations, instill vital life skills, and foster civic engagement through dedicated community service in Yachats. AJC participants graduate not only employable, but also as valuable employee assets, equipped with both industry-relevant occupational skills and the interpersonal abilities employers consistently seek. Students' positive contributions to our city are truly impactful. They actively support local events, assist with community beautification, and offer hourly work to residents for various needs. AKC is a beacon of hope, transforming individuals and uplifting our community, representing a clear return on investment of government dollars. Please continue investing in this vital program and these deserving students. Craig Birdie, Mayor of the City of Yachats. That will go to our representatives who are fully supportive, and to the Department of Labor, which is the funding.
Make sure a copy gets up to Job Corps.
Yeah. I've been in communication with Job Corps on this. And they have sent a resolution to us, and I'm done, so stop.
Okay, and so Mayor Birdie sent his copy to me, and this morning I made one to send on behalf of the city council as well. Some of the sentiments are similar, but changed kind of the beginning half of it. And it reads, Dear Oregon representatives, and I'll put in the name title of each one that it gets sent to. The Yachats City Council unanimously supports the continued full funding of the Angel Job Corps, AJC. This program is invaluable to our community, providing critical opportunities for young people. AJC directly addresses societal needs by offering struggling young people crucial workforce development. They provide comprehensive training in essential trade occupations, instill vital life skills, and foster civic engagement through dedicated community service in Yachats. AJC's participants graduate not only as highly employable individuals, but also as valuable employee assets, equipped with both industry-relevant occupational skills and interpersonal abilities that employers consistently seek. This kind of next two sections are the same as the mayor's. The students' a positive contribution to our city are truly impactful. They actively support local events, assist with community beautification, and offer hourly work to residents and visitors for various needs. AJC is a beacon of hope, transforming individuals and uplifting our community. It represents a clear return on investment of government dollars. We urge you to continue investing in this vital program and these deserving students.
Yes, Sandy.
I think that you should also send that to the Forest Service, the Department of Agriculture and Forest Service, because they are the ones that actually manage Angel Job Corps, not the labor, I believe.
Well, yeah, that was my understanding too, Sandy, but I was told in my discussion yesterday with Tess Nelson, she said it was the Department of Labor. So we will clarify that. But
I think one of the reasons
it may be a contract, Department of Labor to Forest Service, something like that.
As I understand, one of the reasons that Angel Job Corps is not on the list of closures is because it is under Department of Agriculture, but I may be wrong.
Yeah, but if their funding comes from labor.
And maybe we could send it just to all, so they all have,
Yeah.
just know that we support all of it.
And I think once it goes to our representatives, it gets entered into the public record. Okay, city council, are you okay with sending that letter from the council regarding Angel Job Corps?
Thank you so much for doing that.
Okay, thank you. All right, anything else from the staff or any of the counselors?
I have one thing. We landed on a final contract for the water reservoir property to start the 100-day, 180-day time clock. And our attorney has put our mayor as the signing agent for Yahat. So I have that for you to sign today.
Oh.
I've been signing things electronically. Is that, you want to do that one electronically? Yeah, I can-
Printed it for you if it's
Okay,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Of course.
I have a couple things.
Okay, yeah.
Shocking.
Okay, the first I mentioned earlier that I wanted to bring up. I've titled this View the Beauty Without the Sound.
No.
We are almost to the July 4th, 2025, and I'd like to propose a new plan for a year from now. No sound 4th of July. I think it's insensitive and hypocritical for us to continue on our path of the past. Fireworks are fun and spectacular, but the sound and the carcinogens they emit are not worth the pain and the suffering to wildlife, pets, those with autism, and PTSD. We as a community focus on nature, our community, our mission, environmental initiatives, Lights Out for Birds. It was in the Chambers report today in terms of missions, dark sky initiatives. Birds are but a few that are negatively affected by the sound of fireworks. All animals are, and many humans are. We have hundreds of pets and community members who are traumatized by the sound of fireworks. I ask that we declare Yahat's a no sound 4th of July going forwards. The second thing I just wanted to do is more a public service announcement in terms of if there are any citizens that aren't aware, and it really hits on so much of our conversation throughout today. Our natural forests are in huge danger. The current US administration is stating that it will sell off many millions of acres of public lands to private investors. All of us around the country will suffer a great non-retrievable loss by this movement. Many of these lands being sold off or proposed to be sold off are in our area. Just wanting all of our community to be aware.
Thank you for that, Catherine.
Thank you. Okay, anything else from any counselors or the staff? If not, I will adjourn the July 18th city council meeting. With that, we will start the Urban Renewal Agency. So I'm going to call to order the July 18th meeting of the Yahat's Urban Renewal Agency. Did I give the date? Okay, so we're good. So we have some orders, a few things we need to do as the Urban Renewal Agency. City manager, can you help walk us through that?
Sure. The Urban Renewal Agency is towards the end, or the Urban Renewal budget is towards the end of the budget that you pulled up earlier that we had approved the regular operating portion of our general fund, our enterprise, debt services, capital improvement. This is the second half of that same book. And it is our urban renewal. And with this, it's funded through tax collection. And here we have the beginning balance in this resolution, 260. The resolution in front of you is a little bit different than the one that was originally attached to the document. This is one of the edited pieces that you received here on in front of you today. And that is to reflect the tax collection from the county information that we received, and we were able to input that into the document here. So where in the original document, it said we would be having a fiscal year of total of 959,585. It's going to be 959,485, and that's reflecting the tax collection through the county. And the layout is a little bit cleaner here as well on the updated resolution 260 that includes the total resources and expenditures. One of the big expenditures that was added into this year is to partially fund the proposed purchase of the land on the north end of town for the new water reservoir. Of course, as we have discussed many times, that purchase will not go through unless it passes all of the geotechnical engineering studies to ensure that that tank can be built there and it can be utilized for what we desire it to be utilized for. Other than that, the expenditures that are in the urban renewal portion of the budget are really in track with the previous years and the original plan. The original plan for this urban renewal district is for improvement of the community within this map of the urban renewal district, and this property that we're looking at does land in that identified area. So it is in line with the goals of this original project. Money that is going to or out of this budget is to, like I mentioned, the water tank. There's also payment to the south tank loan, as well as the storm drain reserves, street reserves, and this administrative fee that the city general fund receives.
I'm looking at the urban renewal summary. And some of the numbers match and some don't quite match. So I see total resources of 602, 862, that's matches. Beginning balance, I didn't know we had a beginning balance, but that's good. But the unappropriated ending balance is where I'm having trouble. See the requirements, tourism services, total requirements is 739. And then ending funding balance is 220. So I'm not, I guess, I don't doubt that what we have in front of us is correct. I guess I'm just having trouble resolving the two charts.
Julie, do you have any input on that question? I'm trying to pull it up, the book up right here, make sure I have the
Page
book up.
65.
Yeah, I'm trying to see what he's looking at here.
Yeah, I'm looking at page 65, Urban Renewal District Financial Schedules. There's a chart, very nice chart. And I'm just trying to resolve that chart with the piece of paper that we have.
Oh, I see what you're saying. On the, where in the chart, it says the ending balance is 224.85, but we have here, unappropriated ending balance of 284.85.
Mhm.
So it's $60,000 more than what's identified here. And so I'm
Oh, that's
wondering-
from the South Tank loan, yep. Yep,
It looks like that 60,000 would, I'm just,
Oh, I see. We don't have the $100,000 here in the, oh, no, we do, in the approved version. We just don't have it moved into that summary, it looks like.
yep, that's right.
Yep. So on page 64, the proposed budget column and then the approved by budget committee column are right next to each other. When you go down to the transfer to the South Tank loan, in the proposed line column, it has 40,000. And in the approved column, it has 100,000 per that discussion that took place
Mhm.
regarding the necessity for the agreement. And it looks, we didn't get the summary edited to reflect that $60,000 difference. But it is reflected in this.
okay, so we need to
Make an edit.
make an edit, note that change.
Yeah, the transfers need to go up by 60,000. The unappropriated ending balance goes down by 60,000.
Okay.
Mm.
That's where I was struggling.
Got picked off the wrong column.
We have a hand over here.
Yes.
You guys can deal with the thousands, I'll deal with the pennies. Now, I noticed that the beginning balance and revenue don't add up to total resources, they're
Yes.
10 cents off.
I noticed that too.
But it appears that in the budget, page 64, the approved beginning balance is, you know, 356, 622 and 38 cents. Instead of
Mm.
10 cents back in 28.
Fat finger.
It's up.
Thank you.
Just got done in a rush this morning, so that's what happened.
Thank you. We'll get that corrected.
That absolutely exhausts my mathematical.
We can notice.
Okay, yeah, okay, well,
The cents are important.
60,000 is important.
Oh, true. We gotta make it good.
Okay, we can get that edit, but and we can do the motion with the amendment.
Yes, with the amendments of changing the interfunds transfer. Which one is it that is going up and which one's going down? The
Transfer's going up by 60,000, so the ending balance will go down by 60.
Okay, so can I get a motion that to approve resolution 2025-260 with the revision to the beginning balance of 356, 622.38 cents, and then the change of interfund transfers 616 it would be. No, I'm sorry, 736. And the total requirements would be 959,425.25. Or whatever the number. $60,000 increase in interfund transfer and therefore a $60,000 decrease in total requirements in RFE.
Yes, we can make that reflect in the budget book and on the resolution.
Okay.
Mhm.
So can I get a motion to approve 2025-260 with the changes as noted?
And then can I ask a quick question after you guys vote? So, yeah.
Any further discussion? If not, as members of the Urban Renewal Agency, or directors of the Urban Renewal Agency, how do you vote? Catherine?
Yes.
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 And the mayor votes yes.
Now, my question is the printed version that you all received was when we went into our budgeting process was the proposed budget, and there's been handful of edits that have
Mhm.
happened. You have the link to the online version. Would anybody like a printed final version?
I would like a printed final version.
Would just do one for everybody? Okay.
I do reference it during the year and certainly at budget time, I start to look at it closely.
Okay.
No hurry as time allows.
I find them very helpful.
Okay, any other discussion from the directors of the Urban Renewal Agency? If not, I will adjourn the June 18th meeting of the Urban Renewal Agency. We are done for the day.
Hey, thank you.
Even though I had an extra line in my resume.